What does the World Evangelical Alliance see in the MENA region?
Well, number one, of course, as we circle around Jesus and Jesus dying on the cross, we realize this is part of the origin of our faith, the historic origin. Going back to the Old Testament, a lot of things in the Old Testament actually happened on what is in the MENA region. A lot of is where we are now in Jordan. Yeah. Number two, we are aware this is the historic origin of our churches. And there are evangelicals who only see churches founded in the 19th century as evangelicals, yeah. But we are aware our history goes back through all the centuries. And this was the first ever area where the gospel was preached. Yeah, you know that Jesus said, go to Judea, Samaria, which is already a large part. There have been times in history, pre-Islam, where this was one of the most Christian areas, and even among the Osmanian Empire for a long time, there still were even Christian kingdoms here, and so there is this historic side.
But the second, there are Arab evangelicals. How do you see the Arab evangelicals in Palestine, in Jordan, in the Galilee? Where do they come in within the World Evangelical Alliance?
Well, number one, in the World Evangelical Alliance, we do not have a structure following numbers. That is, that countries with a lot of believers have 10 votes. Yeah, we have a vote for every national alliance, and that in itself gives the MENA region already some weight. We very much follow not so much national questions, but you know that in the Revelation of John it says from all ethnic groups, from all languages, from all dialects.
So
and the Arab
ethnics.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to say. And the Arab people have been one of the very large in the sense, have been an ethnic group that really dispersed into a very large area and shaped the history of many countries, many peoples. You cannot fix it to one country and say that's the Arab country. So to miss this out in our structure, and that means in our structure that we of course have the MENA region represented on our international council. We have Arab-speaking Christians in different leadership positions in Geneva. Someone from Lebanon represents us in Geneva to the Human Rights Council. Someone from Egypt represents us to the UN in New York, and so that's a natural part. I can tell that Arabic-speaking Christians are well representative in all our structures, sitting on the table, and they bring the experience from a region that is not only a region where you have a lot of experience with discrimination, with how to deal with problems, but of course also a region where you have a long history of churches. Yeah? So even the younger churches in this region here normally come from churches that have gone for centuries, gone through problems. And my experience is that churches in, let's say, Central Asia and other parts where people have a lot of problems with the government or with other churches not liking them, can learn a lot from the experience in the MENA region and how they dealt with this over centuries.
You're in Jordan. What do you think of the Jordanian government, His Majesty the King, the holy places, the Christian places in Jordan? Where do you see WEA and Jordan?
Yeah, okay, that's a tricky question, yeah, because when a government hosts, a country hosts me, yeah, and then I'm asked, what do you think about the country? Being polite, I normally would have to say just nice things. Okay, serious. I think Jordan plays a very important role as being a country with a king that has origins going back to the Prophet Muhammad, so being a very Muslim country, but not an extremist country, not a country that is involved in all those things that shake our world. Yeah? And I think it's of utmost importance that Jordan proves that you can be, how to say this, hardcore Muslim country, that you can be a real Muslim country without transporting violence to other countries. I'm not saying it's easy, yeah, but I'm very grateful for the situation here. I think that the government is fearing extremists in the country too much when it comes to the situation of Christians. Yeah, I think they could give some more freedom to especially evangelical churches without endangering this cause. Yeah, but I think when we speak up on behalf of evangelical churches, it's never about let's say a kind of revolution, hoping this becomes a Western country. And I point to Jordan very often when traveling in the Muslim world, saying there are other ways of doing it. Yeah.
Jordan has the baptismal site and other almost 100 sites mentioned in the Bible. Does WEA, is it willing to work with the Jordanians, with the tourist agencies, to develop evangelical tourism to Jordan?
Well, you see, if you ask me, yes. Why? Okay, Jesus comes first, but second for evangelicals, it's the Bible. Yeah, and we have Bible illiteracy all over the world, and one of the easiest way to overcome is to bring people to the real sites where biblical history happened. Yeah, for people coming from places where you no longer hear all those stories. Yeah, they will listen to those stories if they are standing there. And of course, you are totally right. If I take the map and I put a dot everywhere where something happened in the Bible, it's amazing how many of those sites are in what is today Jordan. Yeah, and yes, if there is a good plan behind it. I have especially a senior advisor for biblical archaeology for this very purposes, yeah, because I'm very interested in developing those things. We are working closely in the moment with Ghana on a Bible museum, and you know Ghana has 0 places where things happened in the Bible. Yeah, so it's I already said it. It's a bit funny that we go for a Bible museum in Washington and in Ghana. We should have something in Jordan. Yeah, we should go for some of the specific places. And yes, of course, this always means to work with the government and to come up with some vital plans. And for the government, it surely would mean that they would get quite a crowd of Christian tourists coming here to see those sites. And besides seeing those sites, of course, seeing the country itself. I'm looking down here miles and miles in the direction of the Jordan, yeah, and that's nice in itself. We have a Muslim fortress on the hill here, and even so, that's not part of the biblical history. It's still very nice to see and to visit.
Now, if you were born a Palestinian Christian, and you hear what some evangelicals say about Palestinians, what would you feel?
Well, you see, number one, let's start on a very personal level, having interviewed and spoken to many, many Christians in this whole region. It's often very easy to understand a single person. Yeah, so if you live in Bethlehem and you see the wall, yeah, it's easy to understand how those people feel, like in a big prison. Yeah. Then I talk to the Israelis on the other side who say, oh, no one can shoot us any longer, and I can understand this one family saying this. Yeah. I think that that on the one side, the Palestinians really live in a kind of prison. Yeah, in the sense, those Palestinians living here. I mean, I know there are Palestinians living in Egypt or elsewhere. Those living here, because they cannot, as other people do, plan their vacation, plan to go shopping in, I don't know, in Jerusalem or elsewhere. Yeah, what I find amazing is it might be that you can go shopping to Jerusalem and 2 hours later the conditions have changed and you cannot return home. Yeah. So on the other side, I think that the Palestinians often really do not understand, sorry for saying this, often do not understand this is not only the fault of Israel, but they have been left alone by many other nations too.
What do you think, if you were a Palestinian Christian,
Yeah.
of what evangelicals say about them or about the country? Not what's happening, but what do you think of because you are the leader of the 600 million evangelicals. So if you were a Palestinian Christian, what do you think of what, people who live in America speak about them?
Okay, America is a different thing. I come from Germany, yeah,
But you
and the perspective of evangelicals in Germany on the Palestinians is quite a different one to the US. Yeah, if I would be a Palestinian and listen to all of this, yeah, I would say all your ideas about prophecy and the future and this and this do not change any everyday reality. Yeah? And whatever prophecy might bring in 200 years, I'm living here and now. Yeah? My kids grow up here and now, and that is the question that matters. Yeah? I would be astonished that especially in the US, a lot of things circle around theological ideas about the future, about things. If the same people would live, speaking as a Palestinian, would live my reality, they immediately will understand what I'm talking about. Yeah? If you have no future for your kids, I know many parents, Palestinian parents, they would like their kids to stay here in the region, but they know it's the best for them to leave, and they don't know what to tell their own kids, yeah, because the kids have no real future, at least if the political situation does not change totally, yeah, and yet on the other side, who likes to have kids and tell them it's better for you to leave, yeah, and I think that is a very basic, everyday evil situation. Which you cannot counteract with whatever right theology or Bible verses or whatever, yeah. And I think if the same Christians that voice they are so who are so critical of Palestinian Christians would do exactly the same if they would live here.
You want to say anything else?
The MENA region, one has to say critically, even so everybody would agree, is an area where Christians in history did fight more than anywhere else and still do. I always joke a little bit, but it's not far from reality. It's the only place where even the Catholic Church is split. Okay, I know the reason is there are those Oriental Catholic churches, yeah, but nevertheless, in the MENA region, you can come to a place and find 4 different kinds of Catholic churches. And they don't like each other. Yeah? In this situation, I think it's of utmost importance that we evangelicals go for unity. Yeah? Not in the sense we are the better ones, we show all the others what to do. Yeah? But if this region needs something, then is that believers pray together, sit together and say, despite all the political differences we have, despite all the different life experience we have, yeah, it is the same Jesus believe in, it's the same Jesus that forgives our sin, and it's the same Jesus that promised us that he would tear down the walls between us and make one body out of it. Yeah? So this is really my prayer for the MENA region, for all Christians to come together, but especially for those who claim to be believers in Jesus, filled with the Holy Spirit, all the nice things we say about us, yeah, that we prove it by a special amount of striving for unity.